Ironman Maine, what happened and how did it go? So thank you so much to everyone who's been following along on my very first journey to an Ironman 70.3. Some people have been following me since I originally signed up for Ironman Maine in August of last year, and the event was this past weekend. And for those who were following along, especially if you were following along on the app, there may have been a little bit of confusion, and I wanted to tell you how it went, some lessons learned, and where we go from here. So first things first, the Ironman Maine course, the moment that I signed up for it, I knew that this was a very difficult course, not necessarily the most beginner-friendly Ironman 70.3 course. So when I signed up for it, I realized that some of the bike elevation was significantly more difficult than anything I've ever experienced. So I had a challenge ahead of me. I worked very hard. Over the last year, I stuck to my plan, and when I got there that morning, we were good, we were ready to go. Very good swim. Ironman Maine in the Kennebec River, there's a friendly current, which means that it's current assisted. The current is pushing you from behind and assisting with your swim, which is always great. It was very clean, very beautiful and scenic. Took me probably about 1/10 of a mile to really lock in to my rhythm for the swim, but once I got moving, everything was going really well. The temperature of the water was about 10 degrees warmer than the outside air, which is really funny to see. But the temperature of the water was between 73 and 74 degrees, and at 6:30 in the morning, it was about 63, 64 degrees out. So there was just about a 10 degree difference in the two temperatures. So that did cause a little bit of fogging of the goggles, and I was able to clear that up and sort of get moving. Great swim, beautiful swim. I really enjoyed it. The swim took me a little bit over 41 minutes, which is a 1.2 mile swim. And then we moved into transition. When it was time to move into transition, I had a goal for myself. My personal goal to stay on track was that I wanted to be out of the first transition, so T1 as we like to call it, which is the transition from the swim to the bike. I wanted to be out of there in an hour, 1 hour into the event. And I succeeded. I was about 52 minutes in, so my swim was 41 minutes, about 11-minute transition, a little over 52 minutes, and I was on the bike and ready to go. That bike course is absolutely a monster. When they say rolling hills for the Ironman Maine bike course, they are not joking. Every hill was a strong climb, fast descent, and as soon as you got to the bottom, you went right into the next hill. 56 miles of rolling hills. My bike computer counted an elevation of over 3,600 feet of elevation. The course described it as 3,200, so really not that far off when it comes down to that. Very difficult conditions. It was a challenge. There were times where some of the uphills, I was in the lowest gear on my bike and still sort of struggling to keep trucking. Very interesting to see that my highest speed on a downhill was a little over 35 miles per hour. If you've ever driven 35 miles per hour on a bicycle, it is absolutely exhilarating. But the opposite side of that is that some of those uphills, I was going 4, 5, or 6 miles per hour, just struggling to kind of get up those hills. It was a warm day. My bike computer said that the temperature got up to 100 at some points, which was the real feel. Beautiful route, but however, the entire bike, you were either holding on and focusing because you were going downhill fast, or you were working hard to get to the uphill. The bike took me 4 hours and 35 minutes, which was a little bit more than an hour longer than I had hoped or anticipated. And so this made a huge difference in everything that came down to my plan, right? So my plan was to try to be off of the bike in 3 hours and 30 minutes. And my backup plan was to really try to be off of the bike in under 4 hours. So 4 hours and 35 minutes of riding the bike. It was intense. It was difficult. As I came to the end of the bike, there were many times where I thought to myself, I'm probably not going to be able to run after this. I don't think I can do it. And I had to get those thoughts out of my mind because I still had a race ahead of me. Transition 2 comes. I see my family. It was so great to see them. They're taking videos or giving me high fives and cheering me on. And it was so great to see that. And I was able to change, have some salts. Forgot to mention that I also had some cramps on the bike ride. So I had some leg cramps to deal with. Got some salts, more hydration, more calorie intake. And now it was time to move into the run. Transition into the run. I knew that I had less than 3 hours to complete the run. In 70.3 Ironman competitions, you have to be completed in 8 hours and 30 minutes or else you get what's referred to as a DNF, or it did not finish. I had 2 hours and 52 minutes to do a half marathon, which for me would have not been a problem had I not already worked really hard for the better part of 5.5 hours. So wake up on a Sunday morning and run a half marathon in under 3 hours, we're good. Get off of a 56-mile bike ride that was extreme hills and go for a half marathon run, that's going to be a little bit more difficult. I did an interval run where I would run for about 6 minutes and then walk for about 2 to 3 minutes. I was very steady with this. It worked really well. 6 minutes on, 2 to 3 minutes off. During those time frames, there was plenty of hydration. Great job to the people who organized the Ironman Maine event. There was an aid station at every single mile, which allowed me to get ice packs and put them in my shoulders and sort of keep my body temperature down. I was trying to keep my heart rate down also. Plenty of hydration, plenty of nutrition, plenty of bathroom stops, and I utilized all of it. And so that's where we went. 6 minute run, 2 to 3 minute walk. 6 minute run, 2 to 3 minute walk. And I was able to do this for about the first 4.5 miles. So for 4.5 miles, we went straight out. We were in a shaded bike trail or run trail that was right next to the Kennebec River. So again, some beautiful scenery, very well tree lined, and we had a lot of shade. About 4.5 miles out, and then we turned around and started to come back. Again, still trying to chug along. My pace was pretty slow, but I was moving. Around 6 miles in, I had some stomach-related issues, and thank goodness for the porta potties there, was able to handle those stomach-related issues, and then I kept going. The one thing that I had in mind was that around 7.5 miles in, there was actually a cutoff, and you had to be past that cutoff, that 7.5 mile cutoff, by 2:20 p.m., or 2:40 p.m., I'm sorry. So you had to be past that cutoff by 2:40 p.m. Anyone who had passed that cutoff was allowed to finish, and anyone who was not there was going to be stopped and they wouldn't be allowed to finish. So when I passed the cutoff, I still had 19 minutes to spare. And I was really excited about this because I knew that when I passed the 7.5 mile cutoff, that they were not going to stop me. They were going to let me keep going as long as I could go to get to the finish line. And so I was pretty excited about this, and I was like, okay, whatever it takes. If I'm walking, if I'm jogging, if I'm running, whatever it takes, I can still do this. And then something set in. Around 8 miles in, I started getting dizzy, started getting lightheaded, and started to really sort of feel woozy. This hasn't happened to me before, and knowing the course the way I have because I studied it, I knew two things. One, they were breaking down the aid stations, so I knew that I was heading away from people. I also knew that I was heading up a hill that was going to be very, very difficult to climb. And I was just going to be far away from where people were and where the aid stations were going to be. So I had to do that for about a little over 2 miles and then turn around and come back. Tried to deal with it for about a quarter mile, kept going. But then around 8.33 miles in, I decided that I had to call it. So I was able to turn around and go back, head to around that 7.5 mile cutoff and make a right, walk to the finish line, and that was the end of my day. So all told, my walk/run was a little over 9 miles. My entire day was a little over 66 miles out of the 70. I did receive what's referred to as a DNF, which is did not finish. When I went through the finish line, because I was trying to get to the medic tent, they were trying to give me a medal for completing the race, and I said, no, I didn't complete the race, so that medal doesn't go on my wall until I earn it. I'm good. My numbers were good. All of my vital statistics were good. The medic staff was incredible and very helpful. I'm grateful for the day, and I learned a lot of lessons, and I'm going to share those and continue to share those in many different forms here. A lot of amazing lessons, and I'm not done yet. This was a great experience for me. It was a very difficult one. I learned a lot about myself, and I'm going to try and share some of that information and pass that on to people as much as I can. So thank you to everyone who supported me along the way. Thank you to everyone who hung in there and followed on the app and sent well wishes and good luck and all of that. I'm doing great. I do not know what my next journey is going to be, but I'm really excited for what it is. And I'm just grateful to be here, and I'm grateful for this experience. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell.